Welcome to the Season 2 finale of Gaining Altitude Conversations Worth Navigating. Gaining Altitude is a thought leadership series led by Delta CEO Ed Bastian that allows us to further expand our definition of what it means to connect the world as we connect you to thought-provoking conversations on important topics facing our world, from philanthropy to inclusive leadership, entrepreneurship, and so much more. For the past 2 seasons, we've been honored to have some incredible guests join us for Gaining Altitude, including CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, businessman and philanthropist Arthur Blank, and 7-time world champion Tom Brady. For today's episode, we're joined by a guest who knows a lot about company culture and trust, Michael Bush, CEO of Great Place to Work. He sits down with Ed Bastian to discuss how companies across the globe cultivate and sustain culture, trust, and a sense of belonging. This episode was filmed live at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, during Delta's annual leadership conference. So you'll get a sneak peek behind the curtain into the kind of programming that helps leaders across Delta remain steadfast in our principle of always putting people first. Our guest today, Michael Bush, leads the organization known as the Global Authority on Workplace Culture. So he knows a thing or two about leadership, corporate trust, and how to build a great workplace for all. You're likely familiar with his organization and the massive data-led certifications, lists, and analyses they publish annually of company culture around the globe. This includes the annual Fortune 100 Best Companies to Work For list, the World's Best Workplaces list, the 100 Best Workplaces for Women's list, and dozens of others. Driven by a love of business and an unwavering commitment to fair and equitable treatment, Michael joined Great Place to Work as CEO in 2015, bringing 30 years of experience leading and growing organizations. He's also a former member of President Obama's White House Business Council and a founding board member of Fund Good Jobs, which invests in small inner-city businesses. So join us for an insightful conversation that centers around what makes organizations like Delta such an incredible place to both work and serve. Now, let's head to Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium to listen in.
This is a great conversation, and Michael is CEO of Great Place to Work. What Great Place to Work is an organization that provides benchmarking, strategic analysis, data insight in terms of how companies perform for their employees. Their most important asset are the employees. So when you think about Delta, clearly our number one asset are employees, measuring how effective we are at doing that relative to other companies, what we can learn, what we're great at, we've got some opportunities for improvement. We all, the airline industry, just to give it, we benchmark everything. But it's easy because we know each other. But you provide a different set of analyses and questions and thoughts which challenge us, push us to think about how we can do business better, take care of our people. So Michael, welcome. Why don't you start there? Talk a little bit about your company and what you provide and how you do that.
Okay, thank you very much, Ed, and great to be here today. Great Place to Work, we have offices, we survey companies in over 170 countries. So there's no countries where we don't operate, in every industry on earth, and we survey over 26,000 companies. So we know a lot about sirens in cars, while you're speaking. And see, it didn't happen while Ed was speaking. It's like when I get going, boom, all right? This is a powerful man right here. We survey companies, and what we do is ask, as we do at Delta, employees 60 questions. The same 60 questions. It doesn't matter what your industry is, it doesn't matter what country you're in, it's the same 60. Companies can add questions, and what we are measuring is trust. And we measure trust, we've been doing it for 30 years. We refined the model about 8 years ago to be something called the For All methodology, because what our research told us is that every place is a great place to work for some people. The key is, can you be a great place to work for all? Some people never see their CEO, but they can tell you whether they trust them or not. Whether they've met them or not, they have a perception or kind of an experience. And so we measure that as well. And from those analytics, we get to talk to companies about what they could do in order to create a better experience.
So today's work environment has plenty of challenges, and you probably have as good a view of the challenges that employers face in understanding their labor force, the changing needs of the employee base. We had a country went through this massive conversation about return to office or return to location. Can you talk about what you see in the environment here? How are we as employers dealing with some differences in our employee makeup?
Yeah, one of the things sometimes people make statements like hyperbole, like it's never been as challenging as it is today. Well, it's actually never been as challenging as it is today. And the reason I say that is, like with COVID, just the unthinkable occurring and people having to change the way that they did work. What most employees did, or employers, even not great companies, is they took care of their people. Everybody kind of over-rotated to the person. And so they figured out, some did it to, a more aggressive degree than others. Some companies delivered toilet paper to their employees at home. Remember the days you couldn't get toilet paper? You probably don't want to remember those days. But it actually
I still
happened.
have a closet full.
Yeah. It won't happen again in our household. But today, what you have is, I'll call it global instability, is what I will call it. And because I'm out of the country every couple of months, because we have 20,000 customers outside the United States, and this is the first time, Ed, as I've been doing this work, that you see in surveys from employees in Europe, Asia, Africa, questions about the United States.
Really?
It's never happened before, but they want to know about the United States and what's going on. And so that's new. And then if you take, we've been measuring the fear of artificial intelligence because we knew to start that about 2 years ago. So we've been monitoring that and learning what we could. Now there's a different fear showing up in the survey. People are fearing all kinds of things about how decisions might affect them or their families.
Sure.
That's new. And we survey 200,000 people every week. So we're getting real-time data on what's occurring, and this is a new experience. And then, as you all know, in this remarkable company that you have, and I'll say a little bit more about that later, but you have a great company at Delta, and where people can be respectful of each other, people care about each other. Doesn't matter where you work. It's a very unique situation. I talked to a few people earlier today. A woman over in the in-flight training. Yep. She's been here 2.5 years. Does emergency management work, and so I asked her about her experience, like I do everybody, and she's like, "I love it here." And I said, "Where'd you come from?" And she described it, and I'm like, "That was a horrible place to work." She goes, "Yeah." So a lot of people really appreciate a great place to work when they've worked at a non-great place to work.
That's how you figure it out, right?
Yeah, and so some people come, it's their first job, and they're like, "This place sucks." And I'm like, "Oh no, you have no idea." Oh, okay. So the real world does what it does, but for all of us, it's like, if we're working together and you're struggling with something outside of work, I gotta care about that.
Yeah.
I have to care about that. And right now in the world, there's a lot of that going on. So it doesn't matter, we may have different points of view on many things, but we're here to do this thing at Delta. That's what we're here to do. But I want to be empathetic enough to know I might read some news and feel good.
Yeah.
You might read some news and feel bad.
Yeah.
I don't want you feeling bad. I'm actually aware of that, and I'm maybe a little more thoughtful in how I interact, knowing that might be happening.
That's
so
important.
That extra level of care is really what's needed now more than ever. You've got a great competitive advantage because you're Delta, but a lot of companies are struggling now.
Right. So culture drives so much at Delta, and you can tell me about other companies but the values, it talks this morning about the framework of values we have, which creates the culture. It creates the how to our business model. How do we treat each other? How do we treat our customers? How do we go about and fulfill our purpose and our mission? And culture here is so precious, and culture moves on you.
Yeah.
And it's not an outcome. It's actually a living, breathing thing that you're constantly measuring, balancing. How would you describe the culture here at Delta?
If I was to describe it in one word, I would say care. If somebody asked me what made one of the greatest companies on earth so great, I'd say care. How do you measure care?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we try and do.
Yeah.
Because without trust, there is no care.
Right.
People get more very individualistic, and they start thinking of themselves instead of the whole. They don't move around the country like people at Delta do, because Delta needs them to do that. So we ask these questions, and I think the best way to think about it at Delta is we're in a stadium today that I think can expand to hold 75,000 people. Yep. Something like that. And we ask Delta employees questions that let us know the following. 91% of the people at Delta want to work here a long time.
91%?
91%. So that's like 91,000 people.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, so that's this whole stadium full and another 15,000 in the parking lot.
Wow.
Okay, this is a powerful, powerful number that if I said, you want to work here a long time, they would stand up and say that. Okay, this is strongly agree on the Likert scale. That 91% of the people who work at Delta, another 91,000, are proud to tell other people they work at Delta and would recommend Delta services compared to someone else's. 89% of the people are proud of what we do at Delta. That's a we thing. That's how we measure whether you're having an I experience or we experience. And so, looking at those numbers lets us know what it's like to be here. And then we do demographic comparisons. We look to see what's your experience if you've been here less than 2 years? What's your experience 2 to 5 years?
Right.
What's your experience, 20 to 25 years? Now at a tech company, there's nobody in that category. Okay? But at Delta, there's a lot of people in that category. It's a whole new program here. And to be a great place to work for all, you have to break up and look at those statistics. And then I think the most remarkable statistic in the survey work that we do, we have a question that most companies really don't like. And the question is, do you feel like you get a fair share of the company's profits? CEOs hate that question.
We do.
Okay? Let me tell you why. Because the greatest companies on earth, and I know who they are, it's 68% of their people. This is the top 5 companies in the world. It's 68% of their people. At Delta, it's 80%.
Wow. Wow.
It's 80%. And you can look at my list. I got some powerful companies on the list. To really appreciate that, because while people think that question's about money, it's about equity. That's it. It's about a we thing.
Right.
Meaning I want my fair share. That's why we phrase it that way, which means I don't have to have it all. I want to have some, but I want you to have some. I want you to have some. That totally different mindset.
So
you go to tech companies, it's pretty much I want mine and good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, a different kind of a feeling, a different kind of culture.
Yeah.
And so that's something that clearly you leaders have created. You've created that experience where people have that feeling, and it's consistent. It doesn't matter what part of Delta you're working in, that you have that feeling. And that statistic of 80%, it's true for less than 2 years. Those people have barely had a February 14th.
Yeah.
It's true for 2 to 5 and so on.
And your data that you gather, let's talk about Delta specifically. How many employees do you survey? It's a lot, right?
We survey 18 million employees a year.
But just Delta, how many do we know?
Yeah.
How many survey? Because I was told it was like 20, 30,000.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
That's right. And so
large number of our employees.
Statistically, you only need to survey 1,800.
But you survey
a lot more than that.
So your observations are statistically accurate.
That's why people believe in our data.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
so
pretty cool. You should all feel very proud of this.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah. So I can actually make these statements.
You should all feel very proud. I mean, those stats are mind-boggling. So we're entering our next century.
Yeah.
And everyone here should know that Michael has handled and been with us for a number of different venues. We had Michael out for a Velvet in Salt Lake City in December, and that was a great experience. Michael joined us at CES, had a chance to see Sphere and to see that view of the future. He was here yesterday, last night on the field. So, we're talking about the next century and getting ready for the next century. What are some of the attributes leaders of the future need to be mindful of in terms of taking great care of their employees? What are the employees of the future? What are they looking for?
Yeah. So employees of the future are looking to grow. It's showing up in our sentiment all around the world which means they're looking for a leader that's going to help them grow. That's what everybody's looking for. And when they leave, it's because they feel like they are not growing. And as you look at Gen Z and millennials in the workforce, growth is at the top of the list, which means they want feedback and candid, compassionate feedback from somebody who cares about them. And it's going to give them feedback that's needed, maybe tough to hear, but give it to them in a way that there's trust. So I believe you're giving this to me so I could grow. And so I trust that. And then at great companies, people not only want to grow, they want people around them to grow. At highly competitive cultures, that's different. Right. But when you kind of have a we culture, that's what people are looking for. And then you've got a need certainly for Gen Z and millennials, to have a more digital experience. And there's a different expectation. Meaning people in those categories, if they send you a message, however they send it, they actually want a response back like in 2 hours. It's just an expectation from the life that they've led. And so for all people leaders, you have to be aware of that. Yeah. So if you get an email on Monday and I'll get back to you on Friday, you got to understand trust is eroding. See, baby boomers, we get it. Yeah. But
send me a letter.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, exactly. In a pigeon, whatever.
Got lost in the mail.
Sooner or later, But look, this generation, that's not it. And I also just want to debunk some, studies that have said that millennials are this new breed of human being who only care about purpose, yet they haven't fought in a war. Okay, and all those kinds of things. Yeah. For the most part, or the same about Gen Z. If people in those categories have one 15-minute discussion a year about what they would like to do at Delta, they will answer the question, do you want to work here a long time, at 3 times the rate of their parents. Right. So they're actually more loyal. They're more willing to commit if they get this conversation. Now, unfortunately, only 17% of them have a 15-minute conversation once a year. So if you're wondering, okay, what can I do? This is one of the things you can do. Okay, and don't just do it for baby boomers. I mean, for millennials and Gen Z, you should do it for everyone. But this 15 minutes is really important. So you might have some highly execution conversation. Okay, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. Got to get this done. You got to get better at this. Thank you for the way you greeted the new team member and all those things. Okay. And if you do that again, you won't be here long. Okay, that conversation and why. Also be able to have enough room to say, how are things going for you at Delta? Are there other things you'd like to learn here? Because this massive company has everything. Right. And I'm not saying I can get it for you tomorrow, but I would really like to know. And then you want to document that and feed that to your HR business partner to try and make something happen. And if you do that, you've got a person who is really ready to commit. And it's really important because the workforce is declining all around the world. Right. So the future, not only in terms of consumers, but employees, are these early generations. I'd say for Delta specifically, though, while we want to be respectful of younger people in the workforce, and be open to their ideas, Don't think you know everything, because you don't, which is humility.
Yeah.
And so being open to the ideas, you also want to translate why Delta is Delta. So if you have a relationship with somebody who trusts you and respects you, you can talk to them about why you're here 33 years and what it's been like over the 33 years. If you have trust, the door is open for wisdom. You know how you talk to your kids and they don't pay attention, then you get a neighbor to talk to them and they listen?
Yeah.
You know, it's just a tactic of a smart parent.
Yeah.
Because sometimes things can get in the way, but the thing that all of you can do, like starting now, is focus on these conversations. And by the way, email's not a conversation. Email's email. Okay, totally different. A text isn't a conversation. A text is a text. We're talking about an actual looking in someone's face and talking
So
with
do
them.
Zoom calls count as that?
Zoom counts.
No,
it's
I
not
don't
as
like
good.
that.
It's not as good. Okay.
They get half credit for a Zoom
Yeah,
call.
I'll give you that. You know, there's nothing like this.
Don't let them do a Zoom call.
You know, there's nothing like this, which is why most companies do this on a Zoom call or Microsoft Teams, or WebEx.
Right.
All my customers, I love them all. Okay, but the point is, companies don't do this anymore. Companies do this for like 40 people. This is a very unusual place that will bring people together because the value of connection.
Right.
And there's only one way to really, really connect. The others are virtual or artificial. So it's just a statement of who Delta is, that you make this kind of commitment.
Absolutely.
To bring people together. And I just watch everybody hug everybody.
Yeah.
This is a very different place.
It's a special place.
It is. It's a very special place.
Did you get any hugs?
I did get hugs.
You got hugs? Okay.
I got,
You got some hugs.
I got, people cheered me.
Cheered
At the flight training center.
Yeah, awesome.
I walked in and they cheered literally, like
Awesome.
100 people.
I love that.
sent it to my wife. She's like, "Oh, who was that for? It couldn't be you." And I'm like, 38 years and this is what I get at. Oh, okay, but it was me. But the same kind of thing. And then you're fine. People are moving me around, and they're hugging everybody.
That's awesome.
And they're talking about their kids, and they're talking about this. I met a guy named Stretch. I didn't know why they called him Stretch. He was in the weather center.
Yeah.
He stood up, and I'm like, oh, that's why they call you Stretch. He's like 7'1". He just unrolled. And 47 years.
47 years.
Stretch has been here.
Awesome.
Okay, and then so there was like intergenerational conversations going on.
Yeah.
And the woman who was leading us through was wearing this beautiful, cool Delta pin. It was her mom's from like 1950 something.
Wow.
So these are things it's only Delta.
Yeah.
That you have this thing, and so I love getting to meet great companies.
Yeah.
Where I've got all the data and the analytics that no one else has.
Yeah.
But to see it and feel it is a totally different thing. Analytics can't get you that.
Yeah. And the fact that, yes. And the beautiful thing about that and its culture is that we model that for all of our employees around the world.
Yeah.
Right? And so they model that for their customers. Because the question I always get from leaders, customers, different folks, is how do you Delta folks deliver service so consistently? I mean, it doesn't matter what part of the company you're in and how many, what work group you're in, whether you're a pilot or you're a mechanic or you're a ramp agent, you're on the phone, there's a consistency. And we can get better, and we're going to continue to always strive to get better. But I believe that starts with culture.
Yeah.
About how we treat everybody the same.
Yeah. The sense of team,
Yeah.
that's here, the sense of equity that's here, the sense of pride that's here, that it's all connected. That's why that question, do you believe you deliver excellent service? It's general for a reason.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Michael, I so firmly believe doing the right thing is always the smart thing. It's not just the right thing, it's the smart thing. Because by us doing the right thing as we do thousands of times a day for our customers and each other, people see and they say, I want to be part of that. I want to fly in that airline. I want to trust them with my business. I want my family to go with them.
Yeah.
I make a friend for life. And that's, so it also, to me, comes back, culture informs the business as well. Why is the business successful? Well, it starts with people and the culture that people create.
Yeah, if people are caring for each other, they're going to care for the customer.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can't take.
So that sounds so easy, though.
It does.
Why don't other people do it?
I don't know, but I'd be out of business if they did. You know, so I don't need everybody to be Delta. Okay.
Well, when you're
if it wasn't for horrible companies, I wouldn't have a business. Okay. You know, so I know a lot more about bad companies than great companies. So, you know, but I'll tell you why. Caring is not easy.
Yeah.
It's just not easy. This is one of those things where, you know, I know that clearly your talent acquisition team does a great job.
Yeah, let's give them a hand.
You know,
Stephanie and the team.
Here's the other thing that, you know, the family connections at Delta, okay, which is, you know, family, recommending family member. I know this because I'm in the people business too. It's like lazy people know lazy people. You know, so you don't, when you're like, you know, I'm not, you know, sometimes somebody go, hey, Mike, I'm recommending. I'm like, yeah, we won't be hiring them. Okay. Because you won't be here in 30 days. Yeah. Okay. So there's that. All right. But the flip side is real.
Yeah.
This person who gets it and understands and they recommend, all of you know, when you recommend a family member, there's more pressure.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're putting your family name on the thing.
Yep.
So it's just like, look, you blow it here, I'm gonna change your name. Oh, okay. so because Delta's gonna be Delta, you're just gonna be somebody else's kid. Okay, but that's the power of it. And that's a secret weapon here too.
No, it is.
Clearly.
It is. You know, we solicit from our families, you know, within.
Yeah.
Because they know it. They know their kids. They know the expectations.
Yeah.
They know what the success is. And as you say, they will ensure performance.
That's the thing. See, I got one kid, he'd be great here. Now the other one, not so much. Okay. I love them all if this ever gets out. But I'm just saying. All right. You know, this is the reality of it because we're in the people business.
Yeah.
You know, and people are complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and all these things. And so clearly, everybody isn't for Delta.
Yeah.
You know, but when they get here and you know, it's clear to people around them, this is one of our people, then they're going to have a tremendous experience and defend the brand by you know by the way they behave. And I think the other thing is that there are some people who are really strong at execution. You've got many. You know, there are some people who will work 42 hours to you've got many. Okay, so that commitment and that kind of drive, sometimes people, those are strengths, they overplay them. And they move too quick, and that's where there's opportunity. So as you and I have talked about many times, we are working on our own leadership, trying to get better. Yeah. We don't feel like we've arrived. We feel like we have a long way to go. And so that's the thing for leaders. Yeah. Great leaders still feel that way. Yeah. There's something I'm doing I need to stop doing. And it's important to figure out what that is. Now, I can just ask my wife, and I instantly know. I don't need artificial intelligence, okay? But we should all have people around us, ways of knowing. And there's a couple things I need to be doing a little more of. And if you think, oh, I'm a great leader because of this or that or this or that, and this is the way I lead, so everybody ought to just understand this is how I lead, you need some more humility. Yeah. Because leadership is about being not yourself and who you want to be. It's about who your people need you to be. So you got to be flexible, you know, and guiding, you know, and changing. And just like, I got kids, people know, and even if you have pets, you know, what you do for this pet, I'll use the pet thing, just, you know, it's something different for this pet. You know, for my sons, they need this one, you know, two different approaches. Same thing for leading people. Same thing for leading people, which means I have to flex. and be changing and be open to that. For me, meditation is a very important part of my practice, being able to be comfortable being silent, because what I think about is, what is it like to work for me? If I sit with that quietly, I get uncomfortable. Because every so often I could be like a lunatic. Okay? And I'm like, that's probably not that great.
Yeah.
On those moments where I'm so certain and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I don't need a big study. I actually can sit quietly and it's clear.
Yeah.
You know, what needs to happen. And I want to do it. That's why I sit quietly, because I want to be a great leader.
Yeah.
I really want to be a great leader. And only the people can let you know that you are that. But as we go forward the next 100 years, this is the differentiator. If you're bringing in technology and you're caring for people,
Yep.
they aren't worried about whether you're trying to replace them.
Yep.
Okay? It's like, why not bring on technology in Delta's future and get to 200,000 employees? To me, that's a fantastic story.
Exactly.
Okay, that's an outstanding story. It's a growth story.
Exactly.
And so it's like abundance for everyone. Yeah, we get all the benefits here, but it enables us to do more, as a result. And so, and building a culture which you have, where people feel like, because of the numbers, 22, 27, 33, 47. I met a guy, 50 years. You highlighted him at CES. You put the camera on him. He was really nervous.
James Sarvis.
Okay, yeah.
James, where's James? There he is.
Yeah.
He's still nervous.
Okay, I feel sorry for James. Because there's like 14,000 people looking at James, zoomed in, but I'm like, 50 years? I mean, I've been married 38. I'm like, 50 years,
I'm sorry, James.
Yeah. But that tells you everything.
Tells you everything.
It tells you everything about this experience, which has been one of the most meaningful experiences of his life. And so, and then, I did talk to him 2 nights ago at the event for the 100.
Right.
And he talked about care.
Yeah.
Jerry Allen talked about care.
Yeah.
So I didn't say talk about care. That's what they talked about.
Yeah.
And so you can feel that here, but all of us need more of that. In our game, and have to slow down, and try and find some personal connections, to listen to other people, and if you're leading today, what's going to be different about your leadership 90 days from now? You don't need a leadership coach to figure that out. I don't think. I'm not down on leadership coaches. I like leadership coaches. I'm just saying, if you sit quietly, you probably know, and be able to get that adjustment. And maybe you need some help. Maybe if you're aware, and people can let you know, hey man, you interrupt people too much. You always have to have the final word.
Yeah.
When you pound on the table to make your point, it doesn't make everybody feel great. Oh damn, because I do that. Okay, but I don't do it anymore. But I was like, apparently I didn't make everybody feel great.
Exactly. I can understand.
But I got the feedback and made the adjustments. So this is the work for everybody here. To have an individual plan on leading different in 90 days than you're leading today.
Absolutely. Well, I heard a saying today that I loved, that if you want to make a difference, be different. Right? If you want to make a difference, be different.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I love about Delta, because we are different.
Yeah.
And you said it with your comments in terms of the improvements, the significant findings that you've now been studying us for a couple of years, and what you see happening here. We know within our own industry, there's a lot of copycats, there's a lot of Me Too's, and we say all the time, do I worry about that? The analysts, the media, I don't worry about that at all, because they don't have these people.
Yeah.
Right? And these people are different.
Yeah.
And it's the differences that we talk about, the Delta difference, it's the people.
Yeah, Delta is only competing with Delta. That is clear, and I got the data to prove it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, one last question, and then we're going to have Jamar come back out. Another thing I talk a lot about with the company is about sustained excellence. As you say, we're competing against Delta. That's kind of different.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are successful. In the old sports adage, it's a lot easier to get to the top than to stay at the top.
Yeah.
what would be some of your words of counsel for us, particularly around taking care of our people, about staying at the top?
Yeah, I think I would really focus on people that have been here 2 to 5 years. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I think that's an important group.
How many years?
2 to 5 years.
2 to 5, yeah.
That window right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
They're having a slightly different experience.
Yeah.
Still great.
Yeah.
But I would be very mindful.
Got to get them into the culture.
I would be very mindful of that. And so while passing on the wisdom, be open to, hey, maybe they can unlock a new way. You know, maybe they've got some ideas too. And so you're having a real conversation. Because a real conversation, you know, maybe you've been here 47 years, and then this person's been here 3. Big gap. You know a lot. And what you want to pass on is wisdom, so they could take the information and solve problems a different way.
Yep.
Not the way you did. So it's wisdom you're passing on, not how to do it. Difference between those two things. And then being open in that conversation that this 3-year-old can actually teach me something. There's the thing. Do you believe that or not? If you don't, I would challenge that. And so, because if you have a conversation with somebody who's been here 3 years and you've been here 47, and they're getting the feeling, this person's really listening to me. This person's actually asking me some questions to learn. Can you imagine being that person?
Yeah.
And having this unique experience they've never had with somebody with so much wisdom? You've got something special now, and now they're moving into Delta. You know, they're coming in. And so I would really focus on that group, because they need to learn why that person's been here so long.
It's interesting. I didn't intend for this, but it's the same. It was essentially the same question last year. As you know, Brady came.
Yeah.
And we talked about it. And one of the things I asked Tom is, you stayed on top. You were the quarterback, so the clear leader of the team, and he was up into his mid-40s, and many of his teammates were young enough to be his kids. Well, we got that all over the place,
do.
right?
Yeah.
We've got a lot of very senior, very experienced people. We've hired a lot of young people, and it's that gap.
Yeah.
And what he said is how he was most successful. You don't wait for them to come to you. You go to them.
Yeah.
And you learn what they want. You understand how they think. You want to try to help them.
Yeah.
And it's a hand up, not a hand out. And I think that's the same thing that you're saying.
Absolutely.
The same. Well, I think this has been a great conversation, Michael. I appreciate the insights that you provide us continuously in terms of how we can get better. And I'm going to call Jamar back to the stage to wrap up this conversation. Thank you.
Wow, well, this has been a phenomenal and insightful conversation. I think we've all learned a lot. And just want to kind of end on one question that we ask all of our guests, Michael, and that's around our mantra, no one better connects the world, right? As we think about our mission, there are so many unique ways that we can work together to connect the world. And so what advice would you give to the leaders that are here in the room, our customers or guests who may be watching this later on at a later date, on how they can identify their unique, mission to connect the world and bring us all together?
Yeah, I know the John Wooden quote was shared earlier today, that the only way to make the team better is you got to get better. So it's that self-responsibility. So whether you're at Delta or outside of Delta, it's that. It's looking in the mirror. Who's responsible? Look in the mirror and see accurately. I have a routine just like I had today, where I got up and looked in the mirror and I get myself psyched up for the day. The only thing I know is the day's not going to go as planned. Something's going to happen on my phone or whatever, to kind of throw me, perhaps. But I'm getting myself psyched up. My wife stands next to me and has seen this routine for 38 years. And she's like, I think you see somebody different when you look in the mirror than the person I see. And I'm like, honey, I know who I see, Denzel Washington. That's who I see. And that's my thing, okay? But when I'm leading people, I got to know it's me. It's not Denzel. It's actually me. I got to see myself accurately, and therefore be in change mode, be less certain. What I did last 10 years or last 5 years, it's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Somebody will be saying that one day on stage, but I won't be there. I'll be dead and gone. Okay, so it's completely irrelevant. It's what am I doing now? So that's it. So it's everybody being responsible to look at themselves accurately and know what they need to do to change as a leader. And it's not only being a leader, a formal people leader, it's being a great teammate. The only way you're going to grow in your career is to be a great teammate. You got to make other people better. You got to do your job level 5, and you got to help other people do the same thing. Otherwise, you're a great IC. Okay, it's not enough. Great companies that will work and have people work at the airport, go to a hotel room, get 4 hours of sleep, and back to work, that's not a great IC. That's an outstanding professional with high character who cares about a lot more than themselves. You can't beat that. They're not hung up on anything about me. They are into the we. That's a person who is working on their character and exhibiting it. So that's what I want to do. And I hope everybody wants to do that too. And by the way, it's the path to making a lot of money. Okay, so I'm a capitalist too. All right, this leads to outstanding financial returns, this way of working. It's not just heal the world, kumbaya. This is great business.
That's wonderful. Yes. Well, Michael, thank you for joining us on behalf of the 100,000 strong Delta team members worldwide. We are thrilled to have you part of this conversation and teaching us, again, the power of teamwork, and leaning into the culture that we have here. And Ed, thank you so much for your leadership in providing this culture and empowering us to live that on our day-to-day basis. So thank you.
Thank you, Jamal.
Thank you to our employees, customers, and communities for joining us for the final episode of Gaining Altitude Season 2. We hope you enjoyed the powerful conversation with Michael Bush, and we look forward to continuing to having more conversations like these with you. In the meantime, you can catch the rest of our episodes on Delta's YouTube channel, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or on delta.com/gainingaltitude. Stay tuned for Season 3, premiering very soon. Until then, I'm wishing you all blue skies. Please take care and stay safe.